I don't think Hollywood is like it used to be.
Good segue. All right. Why? Why don't you think Hollywood is different now?
I saw a video with Rob Lowe talking about like fame and glory back then, and I thought
Mm,
about like the Rat Pack, how big Hollywood or mainstream media was. Let's
mm.
say in like the 50s and 60s, Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, like these people were idolized. People are definitely idolized now,
In a different
but in
way.
a different way.
Yeah. They're more accessible now, and it's all because of social media. You still have some people, I feel like, that are less accessible to people. They create that distance so that they do become idols in that way. But most people are still available to others. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Doja Cat does lives, Nicki does lives, Cardi B does lives. You know, people can talk and interact with their idols, these celebrities, to the point where they're famous, but they're not really untouchable in the same way that, you know, the only way that someone in the past would have been able to connect with Frank Sinatra is through his music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not as limited in how we can interact with our famous people. So I feel like that's really a big portion of it. There's a lot more awareness as well of what happens in Hollywood. There's not so much mystery.
I feel like now, especially within the last couple of years, it's
Mm.
been revealing the darker side of Hollywood, the things that people have to go through
Mm-hmm.
to get into positions of power, to
Mm-hmm.
get parts, how executives and producers will abuse their position of power.
Yeah, what people do to keep their position of power. Um, yeah, it's. I can imagine that people were aware that it was shady back then. But at the same time, marketing went a long way to creating a image for Hollywood, especially in like the 50s. You have this golden era type of trope for the time, you know, because you saw these elegant ladies, you know, fur coats, high society type of people. The way that I would put it is almost there was an overlap at the time of old money and socialites with Hollywood.
I would
They,
agree with that.
they were on the same,
Interlinked.
yeah, they were interlinked, they were on the same level. Now, I think there's a big difference between new money and old money.
What do you mean by new money?
New money, designer bags, really flashy, people that recently came into their wealth and have not grown up with
You mean new money
the,
as in people?
yeah,
Oh, when
yeah.
you say new money, I think of like crypto. Like you mean like new currency?
No, it's barely even a currency. That's another talk, another time. Um, but it's people with new money. So, new money. But there's a difference in mentality between the two people, whereas I think old money of the time was still almost relatively new. You have these big families that are kind of just coming into their wealth, and so they were on the same standing as a lot of the Hollywood stars of the time. But in the way that those big names retain their wealth through the generations, I don't think that that happens in quite the same way when your wealth comes from your fame. And so the you may have some renown if your parents or grandparents were famous actors in the 50s. Now you know you'll have connections, you'll have all of that, but I feel like it's a little different.
There's somebody I know. It's funny you mentioned that. His father was a legend in theater, and his grandfather was like another legend in theater.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't reach that same level, that same status.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like now he's just trying to thrive off whatever success he was able to have before.
Yeah.
Because I think that like the people before him were considered icons in this field, and he's considered somewhat like irrelevant.
Fame is very fleeting. Renown, those things will not last you a long time. If you're smart, you'll make your money and you'll invest it well so that you can live off of it after, because you're not going to retain, most people are not going to retain that level of attention or even want to. Most people get very tired of it.
True.
Quickly.
Like that's when they stop working for a bit and just become regular people. Rick
Yeah.
Moranis, he retired.
Mm.
And only like the older heads know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
You reminded me something my voice acting teacher said once. He said the funny thing about fame and success is that they'll say like, "Oh, look at Corey. She's up and coming. You know, she's pretty good. She's the new Meryl Streep. There's no one else like Corey. Who's Corey?" See what I'm saying? Like it comes in cycles. You become, you rise, you fall.
Yeah. They'll say that, oh, no one's like them, they're so unique. Not really. There's very few people that bring anything truly new and inventive into a field. And even then, rarely do they get the attention that innovation will warrant. But most of us, even if we're big in music, consider the artists we have that are popular right now. 10, 20 years from now, how many of them are people going to remember?
True.
How
many of these songs are significantly relevant?
Yeah, just like how we look back on the 80s. We don't even know a quarter of the songs that came out during those years.
And like a lot of them came out.
Exactly. We only know the really big ones. Unless someone really is concerted.
Unless you're really into that field, that you know about lesser known artists and things like that.
Right.
Groups that worked with other people.
Dedication for it. But there's only going to be so many things that stand out, and what actually gets passed through time is going to be variable. There's not really any recipe for it.
True. That's what's crazy about it. Will become significantly relevant later down the line.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I saw something about Fight Club. When Fight Club first released, it was not well received.
Mm.
It wasn't a bad movie. People just didn't like it.
Yeah.
But then when it released on DVD, it like blew up. Everybody loved it. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I love that movie.
Mm.
And when it first released, like it was a box office flop. It did not make as much money as I was put in. But now, like a lot of people, we got the show that came out on Netflix, very inspired. A lot of memes inspired by the movie itself. There's a lot of classic scenes from the Michael Cera Scott Pilgrim. So it's crazy that like certain artistic creations will not be appreciated until later down the line.
Yeah.
That was another thing I read about with Picasso too, or Picasso and Van Gogh. Like how a lot of works are appreciated way past their time. Edgar Allan Poe. Sometimes after they died, sometimes decades, centuries after they passed away.
Mm-hmm.
There's another crazy thing I thought about the other day.
Mm.
Shakespeare. How there's like modern retellings, how there's, people appreciate the work that he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, this guy was like hundreds of years ago, but his thematic elements, the stories he's told, still resonates. Who keeps it alive? The people who appreciate it, or is just the work that good and that significantly relevant that is able to be adapted to any point in time?
It's for both. It's for both. Because the themes that come through in any good story are going to be ones that are inherent to human nature. So they're going to transcend any point in time.
Mm.
And that's really prevalent throughout all of Shakespeare's work. You have themes that even if, we don't have knights and lords and, we don't have 3 witches that come upon us on the street. Anyway, there's aspects that we can connect to in the story itself. And that is what calls to people. I also think that a lot of, maybe not a lot of it, but a portion of why people are so drawn to Shakespeare is the oldness of it.
Yeah, I can agree
the
with
historic quality. You know, we don't have plays that are done in that style. So it is somewhat removing us from present day. And I mean, what is entertainment but an escape from reality? So there's layers to it.
There was something I heard that said art is a perversion, or film and television are perversions because they try to be reality, but they're fake. Even if you try to make it real, it's still not real because it's man-made. It's a creation. But maybe, like you just said, that sense of escapism, that alternate reality, a reality in the future, a reality in the past, a reality in which this happened instead of that happened.
A different reality in general.
A different reality. That's so funny too. I've always wondered about that phenomenon. Why are we so fascinated with something different in the reality that we live in now? Control?
I think that some people feel as though they don't have as much control in their life as they do. And there are some things that have to be fabricated, you know. The stories like Corpse Bride, you know, the animated qualities, you know, you can't go out into your life and recreate certain stories in your own lifetime. So it's in part to entertain, it's in part to get people to think about their life and how they're living it. And then for others, I feel as though it's a means of imposing themselves on a different life plot than what they are currently in, where they have a little bit more control over what happens. Maybe you come from less money and you want to pretend for a little bit like that's not the case. You know, so you'll watch something or you'll write a story, read a story, whatever, that portrays something fantastical. You know, something exuding wealth and luxury. And it takes you out of this scenario of yourself if you feel like this is not reasonable in your reality. Because anything's possible if it's in your mind. You know, you can create anything.
The imagination, yeah, right? Your imagination could take you so far.
Right?
If you let it act free.
Exactly. So, you know, it's a creative outlet where people who feel that they can't bring those ideas into their own life feel that they can bring it into this fabricated life. It's also quite an interesting way to explore human nature too.
You can learn a lot about human nature through entertainment and art, about what people resonate with, what people like. There was something I read a while back that I never forgot. It was a girl reading, it was a Muslim girl, and I think Jordan, reading a poem by a woman in, I think, like Colorado or Idaho. But it was talking about like the struggles of being a woman. But the woman was talking about her personal struggles in her world. Very different world than this Muslim girl in Jordan. But that Muslim girl and her friends all resonated so strongly with this woman and their story, and her story particularly. And it just showed how, like, even if you come from two different worlds, you still have a sense of resonance, a strong connection to a certain medium, a certain art. You watch a show and you connect so much with the character because you feel like that character is like you, even though you guys are in two different positions.
Right.
Whether it's a character that's older, whether it's a female character and you're a male, whether it's a cartoon, you know what I'm saying? You still feel strongly with it because of just the emotions that's placed upon it, what's being represented.
And that is the cornerstone of good art, to incite some sort of emotional response, you know? Because, I mean, just like with Shakespeare, no connection to modern day.
Not one bit.
but the emotions are there. We still connect with certain situations that some of the characters might have been placed in socially, or just live. All the love stories someone can connect to, because we all experience, no matter the time and place, certain human experiences, certain human emotions. So, I mean, that's why I cried when we watched the first first episode.
The first 10 minutes of a random anime, the character starts crying and you're bawling your eyes out.
Because I was moved. It resonated. Alright? You know?
You even know her name yet.
That's alright. I don't need to. That's the point, though. I don't want to say manipulate, but that is essentially it. That these art forms are meant to manipulate and create these
Emotional
connections.
response.
Yeah, to help us connect to our emotions. How many times have you listened to certain sad songs to really get in tune with and feel your own emotions?
You know what's crazy? It's funny you mentioned that. Juice WRLD 734 is a very passionate song. The 15-minute version of it, I've listened to the whole thing numerous times on repeat. And it's so passionate, his voice in it. And it's talking about his problems with like drug abuse, the people around him, the girl that he's with, like is it true love? And he feels pretty much that he's being taken advantage of in his business just to make money. But nobody really cares about him as an individual, just an artist. But his passion and his confidence, his sadness, I resonate with it so strongly. But I'm not a musician, I'm not getting taken advantage of for my money or for my creative skills. So it's crazy how I feel so connected to this song. But I'm completely, the world I'm living in, the problems that I'm facing are way different than the problems he's facing. Or at least he was facing during the making of that song.
Right.
Another thing that I find interesting, I feel the passion put into it. Like, a thing could be sad, a scene could be sad, but when the person, let's say the character, is screaming in pain and emoting, you can feel it. You can feel that emotion to the point that you feel that emotion, even if you're not related to it. I remember I was watching Peaky Blinders.
Oh, I fucking love it.
I was watching Peaky Blinders, and it was the third episode or the fourth episode of the first season.
Oof.
And they were having the wedding for the youngest brother, John. And it was a happy moment. But you saw everyone so happy to be together with the family, embracing this moment. And they started clapping. I was swearing everything. I was like, yeah!
Yeah!
I was right there clapping that was my brother getting married. I was like, this is it. This is beautiful. Family together, unison. So it's just crazy how the art can really impact you. It's amazing. There's still a lot of works out there that are still significantly relevant. A lot of works that maintain that sense of emotion. I do feel like movies and shows, since it's been so saturated, it's very hard to find that show, that movie that really sits with you. I was thinking about this the other day. What's the last new movie that I saw? Not new as in recently came out, new as in I've never seen before.
New to you.
That, exactly, new to me, that sat and really resonated well with me. And it's the movie I saw for my film class, Chasing Amy, with Ben Affleck, and how he fell in love with the lesbian girl, and they became friends and things like that. That whole story, that whole movie was just so nice, so beautiful. And I remember after I watched it, a few days later, I was like, wow, I want to see that movie again.
Right.
That was a good movie.
Damn.
It's been so little times where I sat down and watched the movie, and I was like, I really want to rewatch this movie. And it's not a movie from my childhood. It's not a movie that I saw, when I was a kid with my family.
It's not a nostalgic movie.
Most of the movies that we rewatch are nostalgic movies. Things we saw when we were kids, because we're like, oh, we used to love this.
Right.
But then you watch a new movie. I saw Oppenheimer. And I love Christopher Nolan. Oppenheimer was good. I don't think it's his best work, but I think it was alright. But I would not watch it again. But I would watch Inception again. I would watch The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, because those two are symbolic for my childhood. So it's just crazy how that feeling, that significance that an artwork, a movie, a show has, that it resonates well with you. And then it's always that predicament too, when you have your comfort show, that one comedy that you love, or that one show that you rewatch over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it's the feel good show. It's gonna, even though you know what happens,
you're gonna be happy watching it. Right.
Like, you're gonna love it. You cannot deny that you love this show. But then you sit down and watch another show and you're like,
it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah. Rush Hour.
The show or the movie?
The show. The movie. Movies. Rush Hour?
Yeah. I'm just talking about the show. What, are you crazy? Rush Hour the movies? I could rewatch that all the time.
That's what I'm saying. That's my feel good movie.
That is
that
my favorite.
And
1 and 2. 3 is good as well.
What is the other one? You quoted them earlier.
Austin Powers.
That's the one. I can never remember his name.
I love Austin Powers.
Those two, they don't make them like that.
I was just saying, they don't make stupid movies like that. Like another
they
thing.
They tried to with like Superbad and all of that, but it's not the same.
No, Superbad was its own thing. Superbad was not trying to be like Austin Powers.
No, not like them, but in the same kind of
Superbad, I feel like is
category.
Distinct in its own category, like a certain type of feel good movie. I don't know how to put it. It's a coming of age. What's the word? Like crude movie.
Yeah.
It's like a coming of age crude movie. They try to do a Superbad with Good Boys, and Good Boys was alright, but it wasn't Superbad. So it's like it's crazy how like certain films will be like symbolic of a thing. Gladiator is an action film. Ridley Scott has a lot of good films. Gladiator has been replicated with like Hercules, The Eagle, things like that, but it never had that same impact.
Yeah.
Those other movies never like had that specific charm. Isn't it crazy how like a certain movie could be so good, so amazing because it has its certain style, and when you try to replicate that style, it just does not come out the same way?
Because that first one had way more effort, way more consideration than any of the following. You know? Like, it's like beating a dead horse. You know, what are you doing? It's already been done.
It's downfall. You can't do much with it.
Yeah, you know, it's so good, but they want to milk it. They want to milk that style. Which I do get. We often, I feel like this is the case for a lot of movies right now. So many remakes. Why?
Oh my gosh.
Why?
Man,
but
I don't get why. And a lot of it Disney's doing so many live action remakes, and I'm like, I don't feel like this is worth it. Like, I don't know what it is. You know what's a thought I had the other day? I was actually talking to a family member about this. Pixar, between the years of like 1992 to I'll say like 2010, every film they put out, it was like Toy Story, and then A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Monsters Inc.
Finding Nemo's too.
No, Finding Dory was after though, past 2010s. It was like 20.
And I said 14. Finding Nemo's.
It's Finding Dory, yeah. Finding Nemo too.
Twice.
If he lost him twice, at that point you gotta take him away
and just let him go.
But I'm saying like those movies, each of those movies were very unique. Obviously, it was Pixar, like they had the same style, right. But their story was so good. Like Incredibles is one of my favorite Pixars. Monsters Inc. I loved. Monsters University is good, but like it doesn't hit the same way. I don't watch a lot of kids movies, but I wonder like for the generations now, the younger generations, are there films like that coming out that's leaving that same impact? Because Disney, Disney is not doing the same thing. Disney, Nick, and Cartoon Network in the 2000s, those were like a phase.
Those shows,
like they were symbolic, like so classic. Regular Show, Adventure Time, Fairy Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron, even
many good ones.
Even
like
the live action shows.
You could rarely go wrong.
Like it was a certain style, but now obviously those channels are not the same as what they used to be.
Yeah,
there's definitely a change in society standards. You know, like more woke agendas and things like that. I don't really have an issue with it, but I just feel like the execution of it. It's also a sense of technology too. You know, like the iPad kids. It's
not as many people are watching the cartoons.
Not many people are watching TV. They're on YouTube watching people play Roblox. They're playing Roblox.
Weird shit.
Weird shit indeed. So to end it off, it's just weird the transition we've seen from entertainment in our time to think back to entertainment in the past, what it was, and I wonder what it will be.
Yeah.
Like, especially with the more uses of technology.
And how that's going to affect the celebrities and the fame status and how we view them, too, to come full circle, you know?
Like, who's more famous, an actor or an influencer?
not only that, but what kind of place do they have in hierarchy, so to speak? Like, are they really viewed in the same way that they used to be? Because I feel like they were very untouchable, could do no wrong type of thing at one point. And now I think people are very critical instead.
True.
You know?
That's another thing too. Who's more famous? A person with more movies or more followers?
Well, that's basically a rewording of what you said.
Exactly.
You know, followers.
It makes a big difference.
If you see
somebody with 1 million followers and they're just an average Joe, a regular person.
Yeah, it changes your perception of what fame is.
Gives a little guy a chance.
It gives the little guy a chance. And it also means that you really don't have to have any talent whatsoever to be famous. I think people are realizing in the same way that, in business, you don't have to be the smartest. In fact, it's to your advantage if you're not as intelligent as others, because it's been shown, the more intelligent that you are, the more that you kind of stop yourself. You overthink. You tend to not be as much of an initiator in that sense. But, dumb confidence. Dumb confidence can get you a lot farther than pure intelligence. In part, I feel like that's social skills as well. But it's that notion of what actually gets you success. That traditional sense of success. What actually gets you there? Is it the education? Is it the high IQ? Or is it confidence? Is it pure...
All of the above.
It's all of it. Is it pure luck?
Luck does play a part.
Luck does play a part, So in the same way that applies to business, how does that apply to fame and celebrity status? What actually does it take to be famous?
Team and confidence.
No, that's all you.